We got to talk the Texans because everybody else is. First team to fully report to training camp on Wednesday. Surprise team of last season, winning the AFC South title, beating the Browns in the playoffs before falling to the Ravens, and they add so much talent, notably Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Danielle Hunter. Here's C.J. Stroud on expectations.
For me right now, just the message is keep the main thing the main thing. We want to, of course, we have not only a lot of expectations, we have a lot of big goals on this team, and I mean, that's how it should be, the person who always doubts himself probably will never make it to that point, so you got to have confidence and have a goal and a plan and execute that plan.
RC, you were on good teams with high expectations. Yeah. As a player, what's the best way to manage that?
I mean, it's about, you heard CJ say keep the main thing, and the main thing is playing football. But that's also day by day, working on progressing and not thinking about the destination and only the journey. When you look at the Houston Texans, this is new territory, not only for them as this current team, but as an organization. Now DeMeco Ryans entering his second year with lofty expectations. It's not going to just be about can they win the AFC South. It's going to be can they compete with the Ravens, the Chiefs, and some of the top teams in the AFC. I know they believe they have the roster. I also believe the same exact thing. But how do you handle the adversity of playing a first place schedule? So they'll get to see all the big dogs in the AFC. And if they start to drop a couple of games, will they begin to question themselves, or can they lean on the experience of last year, the way this team finished down the stretch and winning a playoff game? Or will DeMeco Ryans have to find another way to motivate as times get tougher?
Yeah, see, I'm hearing the Texans don't want C.J. Stroud to change who he is. He's great at distributing the ball to the open man. 4 different Texans had 75 or more targets a year ago, so they believe Diggs will blend in seamlessly. The sense around the league is that Diggs is still a very superb route runner in the intermediate portions of the field. Maybe lost a tick on his deep vertical speed. The Texans have guys who can do that, so that leaves Diggs to be able to win in the open field. But make no mistake, he has a massive impact on star quarterbacks year one. His first year with Kirk Cousins, 2018, had his first 100-catch season. First year with Josh Allen, 1,500-plus yards. So that impact will be immense for C.J. Stroud.
Oh, I love that. Bobby Slowick's got some tools to work with, doesn't he? This is great. I'm glad he's back. That's a huge thing for them. Other side.
Okay.
The ball, though, we got to give them some love. Texans bolstering their pass rush, adding Danielle Hunter and Denico Autry in free agency. Come on. I mean, they both had double-digit sacks last year. Houston just the second team to add a pair of players who recorded double-digit sacks the prior year. The other was the 49ers back in '94. They went on to win the Super Bowl. It makes me so nervous to say Texans and Super Bowl in the same sentence, but everybody's doing it.
All right. Houston roots are showing right now.
I know.
It's okay.
I know.
All right, let it all out.
Hey, man, and anybody who's been a longtime Texan fan knows what DeMeco Ryans means to that franchise. He came back, he reset the culture, reminded people of what the Texans were all about. Talk to me about him and his defense. Do you see them making a leap this year?
I sure do. It's as simple as a talent add. Yes, Jonathan Grenard goes to Minnesota in not really a trade, but they bring in Danielle Hunter, so sort of a trade. So from Minnesota to Houston, Denico Autry, you mentioned as well, Hannah. And I'm not saying that this team was incapable of rushing the passer this past season, but I think this just elevates the potential for somebody like Will Anderson, who just going into his second year should be that much better. As we often note, sometimes for players, the biggest leap year is that first year to that second season because, heck, this time last year, Will Anderson was trying to figure out where the locker room was and what his teammate's first name was. There's a big adjustment going from the college game to the pro game, but there's going to be other players on the defensive side of the ball that will continue to make their mark and their leap as well. Derek Stingley, as an example, a corner who didn't play a whole lot because of injury his rookie season, started to really come on and find his groove in that system last year. Everybody at all three levels should be better this season. They're going to be able to hunt RC in a major way they couldn't last season.
And when you speak of hunting, think about that game against the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs and how many times linebacker Christian Harris flashed. We also saw him with a pick six late in the season as well. You already mentioned Derek Stingley, but Jalen Petrie, who I thought played at an all-pro level from the safety position as a rookie, he sort of took a step back last year in his first year under DeMeco Ryans. I expect his level of play to raise this year, and you team him with Derek Stingley, who had 5 interceptions in the back half of last season, showing why he was drafted number 3 overall out of LSU. This defense is full of difference makers on every level. You have Will Anderson opposite Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry, who can now push the pocket from the middle of the field, athleticism at the linebacker position, and playmakers in the secondary. Added to the fact that they're going to be an absolute nightmare to play offensively, this is going to be a team that's not going to sneak up on anybody, but people will be scared entering the stadium.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to highlight this clip because I think they did a really good job of discussing both sides of the ball, both offensively and defensively, of course. And I think when I made a few Texans videos recently, a lot of people, more than I honestly thought, keep saying the Texans are not that good. They just got into the playoffs last season, and they had an easy schedule. And now this schedule is going to be a lot harder, therefore they're not that good. Now, on the surface, I actually understand that argument. I wholeheartedly disagree. Let me just say that off at the top. But I understand why people, and I'm going to use this word, casuals, and I don't mean that as a negative, why casuals see that. Because they look at the schedule, they say, oh, look who they beat, look who they lost. They're not that good, or, they were good, but why does everyone think that they're going to be, why they're going to be able to continue that? Now, when a team takes a step back or doesn't continue that trajectory that we saw this last season, usually what ends up happening is, one, the team doesn't get noticeably better on either side of the ball. And two, there's some coaching turnover. There's a new coordinator. The OC gets a new job, whatever it may be. We see this all the time, right? That's when you have a young quarterback or a young team not be able to take that next step. But the reality is that, first off, that last season, they were ahead of schedule. They were supposed to be they were supposed to be the, I'm going to probably mess up the years, the Detroit Lions of 22, the couple seasons ago when they first got Dan Campbell and Goff, and it was just kind of trying to figure things out. This was always a long-term project for the Texans, for CJ Stroud and Danico. But they had success very quickly, right? Danico proved to be a great hire, and CJ Stroud proved to be a great draft pick, obviously. And Bobby Slovic is a great offensive coordinator. So when you have great, the rest is now okay, can the roster kind of catch up to everyone? And the roster has now. They added other legitimate pieces, again, on both sides of the ball. So not only will the defensive legitimately improve, which is what the head coach's expertise is. So you have to imagine that once he gets the personnel and gets the roster as he once constructed, he will be able to execute a significantly better defense. Because that defense was okay last season, but not up to what we believe Danico will be able to build. But again, it takes time to build this, to establish that identity, to get the pieces. Now, the offense was able to also be deeply accelerated because CJ Stroud proved to be a fantastic draft pick. And then you have this awesome up-and-coming offensive coordinator. Now, that alone, just having another year with that same coordinator, same quarterback duo, will be enough to have you progress into, the next level, right? Continue that trajectory. But then you also added legitimate, bona fide, undeniable offensive weapons, more pieces to that. So that's another plus. So when you have plus, you're going to be better. It would be, to me, the shock of the season to have the Texans not that good, or to only be kind of average, or just similar to what they were last season and don't measurably improve. I would be genuinely stunned, because people are trying to claim that the Texans aren't even going to win the division. And when I heard that, I thought, these are just haters. But then when I kept seeing the comments and I'm seeing what they're saying and why they're saying it, I'm like, oh no, they actually believe this. And to me, I was I thought it was a foregone conclusion that this team is going to be for real. But a lot of people don't see it that way. I see it that way. I've been high on the Texans really from day one. I was a little suspicious isn't the right word, hesitant for the Diggs trade. But as that kind of baked, I realized that that's going to be a great move as well. Diggs reportedly has just been a great locker room presence, as much as you can be in a locker room presence at this time. He's just been kind of exactly what you would want him to be. It seems like he's kind of matured very quickly. And I think the culture that the Texans have established there, someone like a Diggs will be able to fit in very nicely. So to me, I'm kind of stunned by how so many people believe that the Texans aren't going to be that good, or that their success was overinflated last season. It was more fool's gold. It is just not the way I see it. They played some tough defenses, and they were still, and CJ Stroud was able to clearly succeed. And like I said, I think their defense will also be able to take a significantly step up. We know what D'Amico's capable of doing when he has the people. We know the defenses that he can build. So when he has the pieces, it's going to be top level. And so as long as you have CJ Stroud being a legitimate bona fide quarterback, and you also have the pieces, and then you have the coordinator to tie it all together, how could this team not be a bona fide threat in the AFC? It says 20% chance to reach the AFC Championship game. I would like to see, because these are where the percentages can always get a little wonky. I'd like to see what are the odds for all the other teams, for the Ravens, for the Chiefs, how that unfolds. Is 20% considered actually high or good? Because obviously you have so many things. Because that seems low to me. I see it as higher. I think if the Texans, unless they experience any type of cluster injury, I just have to imagine that it's going to be they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I just don't see how you can see it any other way. There's other teams that you can argue, well, maybe they had a lot of success last season because of X, Y, and Z, and then this and that. Like, I can see how you can make those statements about other teams. I just don't see anything that would stop the Texans from not only getting better, but like significantly better. The only way I don't see the Texans being legit is if CJ Stroud truly proved just to be a one-hit wonder. And he was just not that good of a quarterback, and he kind of hit the ground running, and yada, 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 but he's actually not that good, which I don't think that's the case. So I just don't see it. Because people are also trying to say, he's only had one good season, now what happens when they have film on them? Everyone thinks that sounds like really smart. We know that they have film on him, let's see what he can do. Like, that's just like what they used to say all the time in like the 90s. Oh, now that they have film on him, he's not that good. Guys, the way how quarterback play is now, and the way how these coordinators, especially a good coordinator, that's just like not a thing anymore. It's not like a quarterback is amazing, then they get some film on him, and now he's just done. I mean, that's just not how it works in modern football. It's just not. I mean, name a recent example of that being the case. We can use examples 8, 10, 12, 15 years ago, but in modern football, like, where has that honestly been a legitimate case? Where a quarterback clearly, I'm not saying that a quarterback can't have success and then take a step back, but when a lot of times when that happens, you have to, if you actually watch the games, you can point to concrete things. Okay, this makes the quarterback look better than he actually is. I don't think there was any instances last season where we could watch those games and say, all right, this game, these stats, this defense, this key injury here, this coach there, this team there, made CJ Stroud look better than he was. Therefore, he's going to kind of also take a step back. That's not the case. This idea is that CJ Stroud balled out, played great, but it's because they didn't have film on him. And now that they have film on him, they're going to be able to bring him down. And I just don't see that. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans will actually make an AFC championship and, like she said, actually get to the Super Bowl? Or do you think that because now that they have film and that they had a easy schedule last season, that it's just not going to be, they're not going to be as successful? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.